instead of our usual sort of featured interview with one artist, we've decided to resurrect an old feature.
Everyone's favourite.
This
First gig, worst.
or that. Oh.
I couldn't tease the people. The people want this or that.
No, they don't.
They don't want first gig, worst gig.
And sadly, that's what they're getting. First gig, worst gig.
They're getting first gig, worst gig.
For those of you who might not be familiar, First Gig, Worst Gig is our semi-regular feature that we've not used in over a year, in which we ask artists of our choosing what was the first gig they attended as a punter, their first ever gigging experience, and what was the worst gig that they've ever played as a musician, an artist.
And the results are incredible.
The results have been incredible. So this month, just to resurrect the feature, and because there's been so many different releases in the past month and weeks to come, we thought we'd resurrect it with a bumper edition. So the first instalment, we'll be hearing the first gig, worst gig of our good friend Alexia Avina, who has got a brand new album coming out, In the Pantheon of Decay. We were discussing the album title just before we started recording.
We're very smart people.
We had to look up what Pantheon was.
Yeah. I was like, is it like a Colosseum? Is it like a Colosseum?
You were closer than I was. I was like, I think it's like a big house.
A big house. It's a big house.
There's one in
Rome. And we were both right in a way. It is the Temple of the Gods. And it seems that you can bury people there.
But what has Alexia buried in her pantheon of decay? Well, you'll just have to listen to the album to find out. It, by the way, it is mostly instrumental, so there'll be a lot of... You're just going to have to interpret the music in whichever way you see fit. In fact, we've got an exclusive track from the album, the track Second Thoughts, which we'll play straight after this instalment of First Gig, Worst Gig with Alexia Avina.
Excuse me. First gig, worst gig.
So my first gig, I had to think about that one because growing up in Thailand, I didn't have access to gigs really, unless, say, a touring act that I knew of was coming through Bangkok, which wasn't often, and I wasn't living there. So I was trying to think if I went to any concerts in Bangkok before, but nothing really came to mind. So I honestly think that the first gig I went to, which was more of just like a set than anything, was when I went to Girls Rock Camp. The first time I was maybe 11. I believe at that time, I don't know if it's still the same, they had a band that was sort of the featured band of that iteration, and at that time it was The Gossip, who now is known as Gossip. So that was my first time seeing a live performance like that, of that caliber, that kind of music. To me, it was really good. You know, I had never seen anything like that, and I really liked their music, and I think I must have gotten a CD. Yeah, great performance. I haven't seen them since, no. I've come across their music in the years since, specifically the songs that were connected to the album they were playing at that time, and it brings back memories, but I haven't really kept up with them other than that. My worst gig. Yeah, I had to think about this one for a while because I've played a fair share of gnarly gigs, but it's what qualifies one as the worst, you know? There's many factors that make a gig bad, and I think that the worst gigs are the ones that no one comes to. But I can't really, think of any of those. And what came to mind in pondering this question was a show that I played that was actually decently attended, and I had a really nice reception from people responding to my set. Yeah, it was a house show in Boston, and it was just in a very musty, moldy basement. The venue, it was a punk house, and it was called something like Trendy Shit Town. My partner at the time had a lot of health issues, and he couldn't even go down into the basement because the smell made him sick and feel like he was going to pass out. And not only was there the musty, mildewy basement smell, but they were burning a really potent chemical incense over it. So that was also giving us headaches. It was just like a really bad combination. I was down there for the other people's sets. My boyfriend was just hanging out upstairs. By the time I played, I was like, hey, can we open the basement door maybe and get some air in? And they did that and it was better. But yeah, it was hard to sing in that environment because my throat was reacting and dripping. So I think that's one of the worst shows I've played on that level. But at the level of people responding positively to my set, it wasn't bad at all.
You had your first gig and your worst gig from Alexia Avina. But of course, I can hear you all at home holding on to your 12-inch releases of Hee Haw by Seamus Fogarty.
Hold on. Holding on to your 12-inch of Seamus Fogarty. Good Lord, you saved it.
You made it weird.
Carry on.
You had your first gig.
Oh my God.
And your worst gig from Alexia Avina. And now, I bet you're wondering, our good old friend Seamus Fogarty, what was his first gig? And
what was his worst gig?
Even after you listen to this, you'll be wondering, what was his worst gig? It was
No
vague.
spoilers.
He's vague. Why don't we just listen to Seamus Fogarty's first gig, worst gig?
First gig, worst gig.
Well, hello there. I'm Seamus Fogarty and I'm really thrilled to be doing this section of the show. First gig, worst gig. My first gig is going back a bit, but probably Radiohead, just after they released the Bends. They played a big festival outside Galway in 2000 and... No, sorry, not 2000. Wrong. Millennium. 1996. I would have been about 16. And it was a great show. I remember who else was playing? Nina Cherry. She was great. And yeah, I mean, it was a big album. Someone bought a big bag of cans onto the bus. We got the bus from Swinford. And it was a great day out. Also, I don't know if this counts, but like around the same time, there was a nightclub in Kelshima at the N17. And I remember going to see DJ Mickey Mac playing in there. So I guess I paid in to see it. I paid into the nightclub, but I guess by paying into the nightclub, I was effectively paying into this gig by this DJ. Yeah, the N17 was a mad old spot. It was a very kind of David Lynch vibe about it, and a kind of lot of kind of mixed martial arts out in the street afterwards. But I remember that because I won a t-shirt at that particular night, and it was a t-shirt with Mickey Mac's slogan was "Large It Up," and it was a t-shirt with "Large It Up" written on it in a really large writing. And yeah, it was a really big hit. Worst gigs? Well, I mean, how long do we have? I mean, how long is the podcast? Let's see. I guess I used to do lots of kind of shambolic gigs. The early days of when I was coming over and doing gigs with Fence around 2009, 2010, 2011 maybe, when I was trying to do these kind of solo gigs. I remember doing these solo gigs with like my laptop and all these foot controllers, and I was very kind of stubborn about fucking, excuse my language, shoehorning some kind of electronic element into what I was doing. But often I just totally lose it up there and start like pressing the wrong button and like fucking playing the wrong samples and like tripping up over USB cables. And people would say afterwards, "Oh, that was so hilarious, that show." And I'm like, I'm glad you enjoyed it, but I'm actually trying to do something profound here. But it was all good. And to be honest, things haven't changed that much. But nowadays, when I do fuck things up, I just say that I'm improvising. And that's taken a lot of pressure off. What other kind of dodgy gigs? I remember a gig in Ireland. Parents decided to come down and see me do a show, drive for about 3 hours. And there was about 2 people at the show. It was quite a good show, mind you, but, it's not what you want to be kind of sending out to those nearest and dearest to you when they ask how you're doing. Anyways, I'm sure there'll be more kind of howlers to come, but hopefully there'll be lots more good ones as well. And I'm looking forward to my show in Edinburgh at, what's it called again? Begins with a H. Humbug. Yes. All right. Thanks very much.